5-week series on what the Bible teaches us about money and possessions. And someone last week said, Father, I'm really enjoying this sermon on the amount. That's what he called it, the sermon on the amount. Anyway, just a little review from last week's homily. The way that we're encouraging people to financially support the church is by contributing online through our WeShare program. You can go to our website, hit the WeShare button, and it will explain how to use the WeShare program. The average, a Catholic who goes to Mass every Sunday throughout the year, this is what the studies have shown, still only contributes 40 weeks out of 52 a year. So even for Catholics who go to Mass every Sunday, they miss about 12 Sundays throughout the year. They go on vacation, or they're on a business trip, or things like today with icy conditions, they're just not able to go to church. So the most consistent way to financially support the parish is by just using WeShare. It's 100% safe. You decide how much you want to give each week, or you can give monthly. You can reduce your collection for a given week. You can increase it for a given week. You're informed each week what your donation will be for the coming Sunday. So when I came here 6 months ago, I signed up for WeShare, and it's really a great program. So if you can, take a bulletin note or go to our website and check out the WeShare program. And there's no way that a pastor can run a parish by himself. He needs a lot of help. So there are different organizations in the parish that help the pastor. There's the pastoral council. We have one here in our parish. There's a finance council. Because of our school, we have what's called the Board of Limited Jurisdiction. And one of the responsibilities of the Board of Limited Jurisdiction is to try to help raise money for the school. Last year, the Board of Limited Jurisdiction and the advancement director raised $122,000. There's also a Home and School Association. Home and School Association tries to work mostly with the parents, but also it raises money for the school. And last year, the Home and School Association raised $82,000. Our parish has $350,000 in savings. And each year, the parish pays the Archdiocese of Philadelphia about $226,000. So $56,000 of that is for bills, workers' compensation, priest pension plan, employees pension plan, liability insurance. Also, $170,000 of that is what's called the Archdiocesan tax. And every diocese taxes the different parishes in the diocese a certain amount in order to raise money to support poor parishes and also to help run archdiocesan ministries. So, just a little review. I share with you the financial situation of our parish. It's in the middle of the night, a priest gets a phone call from a 92-year-old man who's living in a nursing home. And the 92-year-old man says to the priest, Father, I want to talk to you right now because I want to get married. So the priest is a little intrigued. The 92-year-old guy wants to get married and he wants to talk to him. So he says, I'll go over and talk to the guy. He goes over to the nursing home, sits down, talks to the guy, and says to the guy, you're 92 years old. Why do you want to get married? Is she pretty? And he says, not really. She's in her 70s. Okay? So the priest says, well, is she rich? Does she have a lot of money? The guy said, no, she really spent it all her whole life. No. And the priest says, is she Catholic? And he says, I don't even know. And the priest says, well, do you love her? And he says, I guess. And then the priest says, you're an old man. Why do you want to marry her? And he says, because she can drive at night. If you're old, you probably appreciate that. If not, just wait. Okay, so we have a great gospel today. It's taken from the Gospel of John. Taken from the Gospel of John. John the Baptist down by the Jordan River, and he's baptizing people. And he's preaching. and he sees Jesus walking by. And something must have happened to John the Baptist. He looks at Jesus, he turns to his disciples, and he says, "Look, there is the Lamb of God. Look, there is the Lamb of God." That's why we have that stained glass window behind you. You know, it's a depiction of the Lamb of God. Now, Matthew, Mark, and Luke never called Jesus the Lamb of God. That title is only John's Gospel. It's only in John's Gospel. And it's a very peculiar title for Jesus. Only John the Baptist in John's Gospel has Jesus being called the Lamb of God. Now, that might be one of the reasons. Listen to me if you can. That might be one of the reasons why in John's Gospel the Last Supper seems to take place on Wednesday, not Thursday. If you read John's Gospel carefully, the Last Supper seems to take place on a Wednesday, not on a Thursday. Anyway, John the Baptist says, "Look, there is the Lamb of God." And he's done a pretty good job teaching his disciples. Because what happens? As soon as they see Jesus, they leave John the Baptist. See, this is what John the Baptist wants. And two of his disciples start following Jesus. Now, you get the feeling that they're following Jesus, and he looks over his shoulder every once in a while. He sees these people following him. And he looks over his shoulder, and he still sees them following him. So finally, Jesus kind of stops, and he looks at these disciples. These are the first words Jesus speaks in John's Gospel. They must be important. So John has Jesus stopping, looks at these two disciples, and he says to them, "What are you looking for?" Wow. Aren't they great words to be asked? Jesus says, "What are you looking for in life? What's really going to make you happy? What are you looking for?" So these two disciples look at Jesus and say, "We're kind of intrigued by you." And John the Baptist was quite impressed by you. Rabbi, which translated means teacher, because the people reading it probably can't understand Aramaic. And rabbi is an Aramaic word. That's why there's so many translations in the gospel today. Rabbi, which translated means teacher, where do you stay? And then Jesus looks at the two and says, "Well, why don't you come and see and hang out with me and stay with me and see if this is a good fit. See if I'm right for you. I'll see if you're right for me. Let's see if I'm what you're looking for." So they went and they stayed with him. And John wrote this about 60 years later. And John says it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's almost as if John remembered the exact hour when he met the Lamb of God. And the Lamb of God changed his life. Okay? So those two go and they stay with Jesus. And, time is always compressed in the Gospels. But those two disciples hang out with Jesus. And they kind of like what he's saying. And he's kind of impressed with them. And they kind of develop a relationship with him. And that relationship with Jesus Christ starts changing their life. Now that's the first half of the Gospel. Notice what happens in the second half of the Gospel. You know what? Once you really get to know Jesus, you just can't hang out with Jesus. You have to do something with that. So notice what Andrew does. Andrew leaves and he goes looking for his brother, Simon. He says, "Simon, could this be the Messiah we're looking for?" Messiah means Christ. "Simon, why don't you come and see if he's for you? So Simon is brought by Andrew to Jesus. And then Jesus looks at Simon and says, Simon, your name is Simon, but you know what? I'm going to change your name to Cephas, which translated means Peter. And then Peter hangs out with Jesus, develops a relationship with Jesus, and he's changed. The next day, one of them leaves and goes finds Philip and says, Philip, this guy's unbelievable. Why don't you come and meet him? So then they bring Philip. And then the next day, one of them leaves and goes looking for Nathaniel. And that person finds Nathaniel and says, Nathaniel, you've got to come. You've got to meet this guy. He will change your life. And then Nathaniel is brought to Jesus. So notice there's two halves to the gospel. Meeting Jesus Christ and having a relationship with him. And then bringing other people to Christ. Bringing other people to Christ. This week, I'm encouraging all of us to pay attention to both of those halves of the gospel. Now, there's no way that we can have a relationship with Jesus Christ the way people did 2,000 years ago. They knew the historical Jesus. They knew Jesus in the flesh 2,000 years ago. But we can still have a relationship with Jesus Christ. He's not dead. He's been raised from the dead. Now, people today have a relationship with Jesus Christ in different ways. People today experience God in their lives. People today experience the presence of God in their lives in different ways than they did when Jesus walked on planet Earth. And no one way works for everybody. There's lots of ways that people experience the presence of God in their life. So for some people, it's reading the Bible. Some people are really faithful to reading the Bible. When they read the Bible prayerfully, they're just very aware of God's presence in their life. For other people, they find time every day to pray or to meditate. And when they find time to pray and meditate, they're aware of God's presence in their life. For other people, it's defending the poor and the marginalized. Some people never feel closer to God than when they're standing up and defending the people that society neglects. For some people, they feel closest to God when they're celebrating the Eucharist and when they receive Holy Communion. So this week, make sure that you continue to develop and deepen your relationship with Jesus Christ. But this is what I'm also going to ask you to do. Be courageous and invite other people into that relationship. This is what's called evangelization. And lots of times we Catholics are really just flat out bad at this. Some of our Protestant brothers and our Protestant sisters are much better at this than we are. And some of their churches are much better at it than your typical Catholic church or parish. Okay, so I think we have a lot of great things going on here at St. Peter Paul Parish. I would encourage you to invite some of your friends to those activities, and maybe through those activities, they will experience the presence of God in their lives as well. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Okay, just a few more things on our parish and its financial situation. About 7 years ago, the Archdiocese of Philadelphia began a capital campaign called Heritage of Faith, Vision of Hope. And all the parishes participated in it. Our goal as a parish for that campaign was $1.8 million. And the amount pledged was $1.9 million. What's interesting is amongst all the Christian denominations in the United States, Catholics give the least amount of money. The Mormons give the most. But when Catholics make a pledge, they have the highest fulfillment rate, okay, of all Christian denominations. Must be that Catholic guilt thing. So if Catholics make a commitment, they will just come through with it. I don't know yet how much of that has been collected. So when I find that out, I'll share that with you. Someone asked me that last week. Also, someone asked me last week how much the priests get paid. And so I've always told people how much they make. But being skittish about what a priest makes is crazy. It's semi-public anyway. Anyway, so I make $27,405.60 a year. Okay, there are people who probably make a lot more than I do, but they're not nearly as happy as I am. So people don't go into the priesthood to make money. That's what the Archdiocese of Philadelphia pays its priests. And then every year that you're a priest, you get a little bit more bump up, maybe $1,000. Some dioceses pay priests a lot more money for different reasons. And some dioceses in the United States are really poor. And they just don't have money to pay their priests. And those priests are really heroes. So besides a base salary, a priest also receives car insurance, health insurance, doesn't have to pay to live in the rectory, and there's a pension plan that priests are part of as well. Sometimes people think that the parish buys priests cars. They do not. Okay, they don't. So just wanted to share that with you because people ask, and you're paying my salary, so you'll know you're paying me. If you have any questions about the finances of the parish, just see me after the Mass, and I'll continue to try to answer those questions as best as I can. The widow and widowers group will gather on Monday at 10 o'clock in the parish center. The high school group is meeting tonight from 7 to 8:30 in the church hall. Please join us for the annual CYO Beef and Beer on Saturday, January 24th at 7:30. There will be a second collection next weekend for Catholic Relief Services. Tax statements are available to all parishioners through the office. Patty Earhart is going to be retiring from St. Peter and Paul. We're trying to arrange a retirement party for her. 22 different organizations asked to sell things in the lobby throughout the year. Some for 1 week, some for 8 weeks. We're trying to put